Originally conceived as a sequel to Final Fantasy, The Four Heroes of Light: Bravely Default has become its own title with a new environment, new characters, and a unique combat system. This series harks back to classic Final Fantasy games with a thrilling turn-based combat and a classic story featuring 4 elemental crystals. What makes Bravely Default stand out is its modern take on the formula. With a variety of missions to unlock and an addictive combat system that turns traditional turn-based combat upside down, this series has quickly become beloved by Final Fantasy fans everywhere. The newest game, Bravely Default 2, is unrelated to the last 2 games in the series, and is available for purchase on Nintendo Switch. The Persona series began as a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series, focusing on story set in school settings, and using personas in combat to fight enemies. This series is hugely popular on its own, especially with the recent success of Persona 5, the latest game in the series. Newer games in the series offer a social sim function in their games. This allows players to choose to participate in events during the campaign and get closer to certain characters, which affects their abilities in battle. The series is known for having deep stories, great fights, and a great soundtrack. The Golden Sun series is spread over 3 titles. 2 were released for the Game Boy Advance, the third was released for the Nintendo DS, and fans are clamoring for another entry or re-release with good reason. Golden Sun follows the story of a group of characters attuned to the elements, tasked with saving the world from a destructive force. There are many cute characters in Golden Sun, and the game's classic visuals will be familiar to Final Fantasy fans. Players must wield basic skills both in and out of combat to solve the many puzzles available throughout the game. Much like most Final Fantasy games are standalone stories with their own plot, world, and characters, the Tales series encompasses a number of games, all with different players, themes, and settings. While the Tales series doesn't have as big a following in the West as Final Fantasy, it's certainly huge in Japan, with regular concerts and online events. It offers fairy tale games, epic stories with cute characters and a combat system that combines action game-style combat with 2.5D motion space. Players can move their characters around the field during a fight, and use positioning to attack enemy weak points. There is also a martial arts and skills system that increases the depth of the game. Earthbound, the cult classic, was released years ago for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Although it didn't go very well in the West at first, over time people began to enjoy and appreciate what they did. Earthbound takes place in a modern setting, which is a breath of fresh air after many games in fantasy settings. It offers a fascinating and heartwarming plot with humorous writing and beautiful visuals that look good even to this day. Only the first 2 entries in the series, known as the Mother Trilogy in Japan, were released in the West. One of the greatest JRPG franchises ever, with a history as rich as Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest games offer vast and vibrant worlds for players to explore and get lost in. These games are known for their signature art styles and characters. The mascot of the series, the cute blue slime. Dragon Quest games always contain some element of saving the world from a powerful evil. The gameplay style remains consistent throughout the titles, with turn-based combat and lots of menu-based navigation. Xenoblade Chronicles is a series that JRPG and Nintendo fans will keep their eyes on. The original game, released on the Wii, was critically acclaimed for its active combat system, which combines 3D movement with skill commands, forcing players to think about their position on the battlefield, while being strategic about their use of skills at the same time. The lore of the Xenoblade series is also something Final Fantasy fans will enjoy exploring. The games combine fantasy and science fiction elements to create a mystical and beautiful world with a rich history and many secrets. Ni no Kuni is a series of JRPG games that look like they came straight out of an anime. These RPGs are loved for their gorgeous visuals, but they also offer so much more to fall in love with. The characters of the games are complex, believable and well written, making the journey with them a pleasure. Players can navigate the game's worlds as they complete missions and engage in combat, recruiting enemies to use in future battles. The newest game in the series, Ni no Kuni 2, Revealing Kingdom, is available on both PlayStation 4 and PC. Published on Wii and directed by Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of the Final Fantasy series, The Last Story is an action RPG with great gameplay. The game also features music by Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu, bringing home a different feel of Final Fantasy that will still be familiar to fans. In The Last Story, its action-packed structure is combined with tactics and many stealth elements. Players control the hero, and can direct group members using various commands. Throughout battles, players can use special attacks to use game-changing moves to become the winner. It's hard not to recommend Kingdom Hearts to Final Fantasy fans. The two series are somewhat linked, as Final Fantasy characters frequently appear in Kingdom Hearts titles, and the creator of Kingdom Hearts is none other than well-known Tatsai Inamura. Final Fantasy fans can expect more from seeing their favorite characters in the Kingdom Hearts games. These games feature a robust and frenetic action combat system, with colorful characters and surprisingly deep messages about friendship and love. There's a lot to dig beneath the surface of the game. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked the video, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the page.